What's going on YouTube? Back with, well, I guess it's technically our first video besides our intro video that we have on the channel. And in this video, my brother and I, we're twins, by the way, if you're wondering.
Hello.
We're
going to church.
We're going to church, and we're both atheists, so it should be interesting. What are you looking forward to?
Okay, so backstory. My friend is religious. We're both atheists. And he just invited me to church, and we're going because we're curious. Yeah, we just want to have an interesting experience. It doesn't seem likely that our views will change. However, we are excited to see what it's like.
Yeah, we both grew up pretty religious, in kind of a fundamentalist family, so it's, we're really familiar with biblical doctrine, but what I'm looking forward to is, I guess, the community. I do like, what I like about church is that it's more of they modernized it. I guess that kind of takes away from some biblical teachings, but that's what I like about Christianity, at least in regards to like some of the common subsects,
Yeah.
But yeah, so his coworker invited us, and it should be interesting.
Like, I wonder if they'll say anything like just really surprising to me. That how it's presented is gonna be interesting.
I'm curious to see how it's gonna be presented.
So today should be interesting. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Until we arrive.
Yeah. Again, although we're atheists, we have nothing against Christianity. It's just we respectfully, I guess, aren't convinced that it's the truth. So, but until, we're open to evidence, so we're gonna go check it out. Until next time, probably in a second from now, you'll see us there. Peace. We out here.
Hello.
Just made it to church.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty welcoming. There's a welcome home.
This is your family.
Yeah, I like that. That's pretty nice.
It is really
This
nice.
place is a lot bigger than I expected, much bigger than the church we went to growing up.
So yeah, our experience should be really different. Maybe not different at all, actually. Hey, closer up view. But yeah, so not sure what to expect. It's huge. A lot of people. We saw like this bunch of trucks that said like the church's name, and the place is just really beautiful. And there's like a little mini pool. It's just it's really unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm actually quite shocked. But see you guys in a second from now. Hello everybody, just here with my buddy Jeremy, and he is a Christian, and we went to church together. We just left service, and as you guys know from the beginning of this video, I'm an atheist, and I'm coming to learn about the Christian religion. And I'm just going to ask my buddy here some questions. So, how long have you been a Christian?
I have been a Christian since I was 4. So
Wow.
25 years.
Wow, that's intense. What about Christianity draws you to the religion?
Now that I'm older and can express it well, I think one of the biggest things is that people don't realize that they will be a slave to something. I think a lot of people are in the world and thinking that they're living for themselves, but really they're a slave to their desires, or a slave to money, or a slave to sexuality, or slave to whatever it is that they're trying to find stability in and hope in.
Yeah.
And the opposite is you could be a slave to God, a loving God, and put yourself in His hands. And so it's a choice. Do you say, I'm going to be a slave to myself, or am I going to be a slave to God? And I think you just have to choose wisely.
Gotcha. So, have there been any other religions that you've been drawn to or explored that you find could have some truths that, or is Christianity more of an all-encompassing sort of thing that, I don't know, I kind of worded that poorly, but
Do you find value in other religions?
That's a difficult one.
Might be
Value.
is it a sinful thing to say if, I guess, because one of the 10 Commandments is you shouldn't worship other gods. So
Absolutely. The first one. I think it's possible for other religions to turn you into a good person by man's standards, but it will never make you into a good person by
Gotcha.
God's standards. And that's, I think, the difference between Christianity and the other religions is people really, really, really working hard to make themselves good enough for God.
yeah,
And this is the opposite. It's just saying no one will actually be good enough. And that's why God came down and took the form of a man so that you would have his righteousness. So you don't have to be good enough because he couldn't anyway.
interesting.
Okay.
I understand. Dang. Sorry, I didn't plan these questions out, so kind of going off the top of my head. We briefly went over this earlier, not in the video, but Jeremy and I. Jeremy, what does it mean to have a personal relationship with God? I have a lot of religious coworkers and friends. They often tell me that, and I struggle to find, or at least understand, what that exactly means. Could you answer that?
It means that the relationship has been restored because people were created to have a relationship with God. But Adam and Eve sinned in the Garden of Eden, and so the relationship was restricted and changed, and that's why Jesus had to come and to restore the relationship. And with that relationship restored, it's having unrestricted access to God, meaning you can go to him with everything. And it would be different if it's a God that's terrible and does terrible things. Then be like, why would I ever want to have a relationship with you? But this is a God who reveals himself as faithful and kind and loving, but also he does punish people for their sin and does hold them accountable. But the first few things that he describes, I think it's in Exodus 34, he says faithful, loving, kindness to different generations and things like that. So a relationship with God is having unrestricted access to him and knowing that you don't have to be a good person to speak with him because there are no good people. And that's in Romans 3, I think. It's knowing that his righteousness is good enough.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to answer these questions. Appreciate, what
You
this
bringing
channel
us
is
out
about,
here
just
too.
about, having
Awesome.
civil conversations about, theological ideologies. And, yep. Until next time.
All right.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
So what are your thoughts? Like, what are the first? I guess let's start with all the pros of the service. What did you like about it?
Okay, so I was surprised at how huge it was. There was huge TVs, or like big flat screen ones, putting all the words onto the screen. There was, they had these trucks. They had, the place itself was just massive, and I was just surprised how there's funding for this. There was a really great and positive community. They made everyone feel welcomed. There was people literally holding the doors, not just like waiting for people to walk by, but I mean, they weren't walking in and holding the doors for us. They were literally just holding the doors for everyone. And they were standing at the doors for like 15 minutes. And there are a ton of pamphlets. We took like 10 of them, just talking about the community, ways they're helping better things in the community. Really great. We also read some of the Bible, which we do disagree with a lot of the things that we read and things that were shared. But I did like the positive community that they had. They made everyone feel like a family.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that as well. I loved the sense of community. There was just a lot of people, again, like holding doors. That I was completely shocked. It was just very nice of people, and again, just very welcoming. I loved the bands that were playing. It was awesome. Man, the music sounded great. And of course, we're not religious, but
Yeah.
so like the lyrics didn't really resonate with us, but I loved the music.
It was really catchy, and the singer had a great voice. He was passionate. The pastor was very passionate as well. But yeah, the content of what was being presented in the songs. So I loved the tunes and everything, but like I just couldn't.
Yeah. And another thing is, I really liked how somewhat informal it was. A lot of people were wearing jeans, and I thought that was great because again, a lot of the Jehovah's Witnesses will know this, that you can't have facial hair, and you have to dress up really nice when you go to service. And that was just something that I just didn't know what it was going to be.
Right.
Like.
So they kind of you feel like they accept you for you, which is great. Like
there's some sort of individuality that's promoted, which I really like.
Yes. There was one thing, though, that I was kind of surprised about, but I can understand why they do it. So communion, you get bread and wine. They allowed everyone to get it. They allowed the new people to get it, but the people they didn't allow to get the bread and wine, they said, if you do not believe in Jesus Christ, I'm sorry, you can't have any. So my brother and I were sitting, and we're the only ones sitting. And it was like kind of, I can understand why they do it. I feel like it helps with their cause. But yeah, I didn't feel like they accepted everyone fully with that action. Yeah, I think they had a kind of like a system of rewards and punishment, which I didn't like. And I've been atheist for a while, so it didn't really affect me too much. But initially, Right.
I kind of had to catch myself. I felt a bit shameful when it's just me and my brother just sitting there while everyone was up there.
And I was kind of like smiling awkwardly because
Yeah,
there's some people looking at us, but I was like, yeah, I'm allowed to have my own beliefs.
Yeah.
But I also felt like, that if there was someone in the church that was having doubts, them saying that those who don't believe can stay seated, and it kind of like puts them out there, it exposes them. And I feel like that shame kind of supports their cause.
Yeah.
So I can understand why it's done, but the church that we used to go to growing up didn't do that, which I really liked.
Yeah. And I guess another thing that I wasn't quite fond of was there was a lot of, I guess this is very common in, I guess Christian congregations, is that they're very adamant about being kind of like shame induced, and that we're inherently sinful. And that was something that I found that it was rather peculiar that they were saying the entire time, and how all non-believers were going to go to hell.
Right.
And it just seemed very harsh. And I was thinking like, wow, people that are not even exposed to this sort of evidence are going to go to hell. Like even like Muslims born in another country are going to go to hell. It just seemed like a bit
right. And he kept saying, as long as you believe, you'll go to heaven. But we were there like wanting to try and see something that would change our minds. So just despite us seeking belief, we would technically still go to hell. Or the fact that sorry, can't remember what I was gonna say, but
yeah. So I guess that is the negatives. Anything else? Any like positives, negatives you want to say? I loved the sense of community. That was my favorite thing about it. But I guess just if you just disagree with some biblical doctrine, then you're basically it's kind of like us versus them, an in-group out-group
Right.
sort of thing. Like you're literally physically sitting by yourself.
we were definitely the out group, and it also makes you feel like they're unwilling to eat with you.
Yeah. So I guess that's something I wasn't fond of.
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking, wait a minute, this is
Yeah.
I-
And
I've never experienced that.
We're both quite well grounded with ourselves, so it didn't really affect us. And my only thought was, if someone truly was trying to believe in something, came to this new set of ideologies, and they just didn't agree with it, again, they're like basically ostracized in a way, sitting in the back,
Right.
you know, and then people are looking at them thinking like, oh, you know, they don't believe.
Right. Personally, for me though, I do have a morbid sense of humor, so I found it humorous, and I
Yeah.
kind of was laughing. But for most people, that would be devastating, especially
Yeah.
if they grew up in that church and they do have those doubts. So yeah, that was my biggest concern. But other than that, like, well, that not also many other things in the Bible are my biggest other concerns. But yeah, other than that, it was really positive experience and really welcoming. And
Yeah.
if anyone's ever lonely, I feel like that'd be a great place to go to. Just the sense of camaraderie there was really great.
Yeah, I think it's a good place for a community if you're feeling lonely. Although, if you are feeling lonely, they do say, you know, at least in this congregation, they said quite often that you're basically inherently sinful, and that can be a bit shame-inducing, which is my biggest concern, I suppose. So I think it has its pros and cons, as does every religious organization.
We also saw baptisms. I forgot to mention that. So we saw 2 baptisms. Pretty cool, but they were pretty much like saying that they're inherently sinful until they're baptized and all this stuff. And they were just like talking poorly about themselves. And then I just didn't like that self-deprecating type of talk.
Yeah, same here. And also another issue I had with those baptisms is the pastor made them say that they're going to commit to Christ for eternity.
Eternal. Yeah, it was like an eternal thing.
And they're minors, and
Yeah.
you know they can't really consent to things like that.
That's like signing a contract at the age of 14
Yeah.
that affects your entire life.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of information on other religions and or you know, secular organizations that, you know, that my brother and I are into. So if you don't even have access to that, you know, because you're a minor and you're, you know, again, you lack the cognitive capacity to understand outside, you know, sources, or even again, like actively seek them, then it's a bit concerning that you have to agree for the rest of your life, or you're going to go to hell.
Eternity. Yeah, and the punishment is like eternal damnation.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess to conclude, we had a great day with our friend at church.
Yep.
Many wonderful things.
Yeah.
But I'm respectfully not convinced still.
Yeah, there's a lot of great Christians. You know, I love hanging out with people. I'm a huge people person. You know, the only issue I have is some of the doctrine.
Yep.
And if you guys want to stay tuned for more videos, feel free to subscribe, like to support.
If you want to go to church together and experience
Yeah.
together, look, we are down.
Yeah, hit us
Can't
up.
promise that we'll be believers, but
Yeah.
we can go together and enjoy it.
Peace
All
out,
right.
everybody. Until
See you.
next time.
Have a great day.